welcome to this new Gamersyde Live, very special Gamersyde Live tonight, because we are going to show you, or show you again, if you were here 30 minutes ago when we had some technical issues and we had, let's say, a false start. We are going to show you Get Even, was released last week. And tonight we've got something very special because we've got two guests with us who worked on the game. We've got our good friend Olivier Derivière, and along with him we've got the producer of the game, Lionel and Lovisa. Hi guys, and as usual, Driftwood is here with us.
Yeah, welcome back. If you were with us 30 minutes ago, and we're truly sorry for what happened. It's probably my fault somehow,
yeah,
but
I can confirm it. It's 100% his fault.
Yeah, and I'm going to get beaten up probably next time we see each other. Thankfully, we saw each other last weekend, so it's probably going to be a while, and I have time to work out.
Yeah, no one cares.
I know. So yes, Get Even, and we're not going to introduce Olivier because people know him very well. He's so famous now.
He's a megastar,
especially as a megastar on Gamersyde and in the world, I think. And but maybe Lionel, although he has a very interesting history in the game industry, maybe people don't know his name, and be quite interesting to know where you're coming from.
Hi, hello. Yeah, maybe interesting history, I don't know. Just in brief, because probably some people heard that before. I was working in Japan for more than 10 years, mostly on MGS, Metal Gear Solids. And I left after MGS 5 and I came to Europe, where I joined Bandai Namco and worked on the team with Olivier, which was a very nice experience.
And so, did you know Olivier from before, or just his work, or?
No, I didn't know. The first word I said to him is kind of not very nice word. So
oh, really?
I won't say it in live, but.
Yes, he did. This is what he said to me. He said, "I hate you and I love you." So he started with, "I love you because the sound of the game is incredible. I hate you because I will have to do a lot of trips to Gliwice, which is nowhere in Poland."
Nowhere in Poland, yeah, because that's a Polish game. That's something we didn't say. And although it's published by Bandai Namco, it's a small production. It's I don't really know. It's like EA is doing it, and some big publishers are actually helping smaller studios. So it's not exactly an independent studio, but it's certainly not to be compared to very high budget game. I'm not going to say Call of Duty because that wouldn't make sense, because Get Even is not really a shooter, is it? And we're going to try and present it as well as we can, and be honest about it. It's not because we have the developers that we're going to say that it's the best game ever in every possible department. But the reason why we're doing this also is because we like the game, so that something we're not going to lie about just to make you feel that we're more trustworthy, because we can say bad things about a game that we have completed. By the way, I completed yesterday at night. I think it was around 2 a.m. in the morning, and it was sort of hard to say, okay, no, I can't stop and say I'll see the end tomorrow, because actually the end was a lot. It was longer to get to the end than I expected at some point in the story, and yeah. Well, I'm not going to say much, and I'll let the guys talk about the game if they want. So, Olivier, what can you tell us about the game, or what do you want to say?
No, what I want to ask is rather questions to you, because I feel that this game is very difficult to describe, and most people say that until you finish the game, then you know what it is all about, then you know why this game is so confusing, and it's very difficult to market the game. And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people don't know about the game for many reasons. One of them, for sure, is that it's difficult to explain what is this game. So if you could, for us, explain what is this game without, of course, spoiling anything truly dramatic. So what was your experience? I would rather have your experience, from your perspective, what you felt, you know, throughout the whole game, without telling anything about the story or the gameplay. But what did you feel, you know?
It's like I said before, you know, first time we tried to record this, I first tried the game last year at Gamescom, but the conditions were not optimal. I mean, I was late for another appointment. I was trying to see as much of the game as I could, but it was intriguing. What you had told me back then, which basically was nothing, because you said, yeah, you'll see what it is, but it's just it's crazy, so it's difficult to explain. I would say it's the story of different characters, and the main character here I'm playing now is Cole Black, and you get information about him little by little, and then you know, it's confusing, and you get to see other characters, and then you get to know who they are and the connections and everything. So there's the investigation part. I'm not supposed to talk about gameplay, but that's what I'm showing now, which is pretty well, simple, though it's, you know, it's possible to miss documents, and everything that is written, or everything that you can read, everything that you can hear in the game is relevant to the story and to what's going on. And basically I was expecting something along the lines of, you know, Fight Club, you know, that in a movie where you understand the end, at the end what happens, and when you watch the movie again, you see it in a different light. And that's basically what I think Get Even is. Playing the game again, everything you'll see and everything you'll hear, and that's maybe what's even more different than in other games. It's the sound design is made in the way that there are clues everywhere, and clues that you can't figure out. I mean, I tried to anticipate what was going to happen in the end. You know, I watched Fight Club, I watched other movies like that, so I said, okay, you can't fool me. But in the end, it's not that it was incredibly twisted. It's just that I did not find what the game was about. That I hadn't figured it out, and I kept playing yesterday, thinking, okay, it's supposed to be over now. Why am I still playing? Why is it still going, moving forward in the story? And now, knowing that a few of the levels I have not completed completely, a few documents are missing, but even without that, just replaying the game, and you know, you could hear, I'm not sure you could hear, but there's a tick, the clock ticking, and you know, it might sound strange, say, why is there a clock ticking? Why does it sound like a, you know, even sometimes like a heartbeat, getting faster, accelerating and everything. That's why I wanted to have Olivier tonight also on the live stream, because that's, and it's hard because I know that he can't say much about his work, because saying too much would actually reveal things. And
no, I can't say much, but we can talk about something.
Oh,
because
yeah.
Now you are kind of describing a bit the story. I will ask you something.
Yeah.
Because you have the story concept, and then you have the game concept, and I think every game is trying to achieve something, and this one is trying to achieve something that not many people are seeing through the game. I will ask you a question. Just for the first 3 stages you played, you start and you had the first stage, then you came to the second stage, and then the third stage, okay? But in the first stage, you might have felt something, like have a feeling, something that was inside you when you were playing. What was it?
Well, it's like I'm supposed to lie down on the couch and, and tell you everything about my inner feelings. That's I mean, you should have asked me that like days ago. I would have paid more attention to what I was feeling. I don't know. There's I mean, I would say it was. It's not a scary game, but it's a game that made me feel uneasy. And I guess,
let's say that's the first stage you feel uneasiness, which is kind of okay. Then you move to a second place where you kind of wake up, and then there you had probably a different feeling.
I guess there was also confusion, or at the same time you said, okay, I think I'm confused, the character's confused, but at the same time I've, you know, like I said, I've seen movies, I've played games, so okay, I understand that when Cole wakes up in the second, I think that's the second level more or less of the game, and you know, meet that first character, Red, you I don't know, it's like you say, okay, maybe I know where this is going, but the more I was just moving forward, and the less I was getting was really going to happen next.
And I will ask you a simple question. When you start the game, you have probably a feeling of, and now I'm feeling like this because I'm playing and I hear the sound and the atmosphere is like this and creating this emotion. But was it completely different when you were the last stage, for example?
Yes, because the thing is that the end, and again, I can't spoil anything, but it's like you get to understand things that you could not understand in the beginning, and like I said, see things in a new light. And so it was not so much the feeling of, you know, being uneasy, but more about maybe the dread of actually figuring out what was going on, and understand what was going to happen to the characters. And I say characters because, like I said, it's not just about Cold Black. It's you know, there's a bigger picture, and
the reason I'm asking you the question is, like, usually every game has a target and try to achieve something. So let's say that you have a typical shooter game. What they try to achieve is to make the shooter feel good and okay, I have the feeling of blowing people's head, and when I'm blowing people's head, it feels very good. You have some games that are more survival game, and they try to put it in survival situation. Okay, I feel that I need to survive, and I feel the stress of that. And what we try to do is Get Even is basically not trying to make a shooter, not trying to make an horror game, not trying to make a puzzle game, but we try a bit to toy with the people emotion through the beginning to the end. So I don't know, but if you look at what you played and try to split the game through each stage, you will see that every stage has kind of like an emotion that is driven behind the stage. Like the first was basically confusion and stress.
Yep.
Second is more like a scary moment. The third is, oh, I feel professional now, and then after, oh, I'm effective, and then it's rolling like this from the beginning to the end. So I read some review online, and I look at people like talking about the gameplay, talking about the graphics, talking about things. The thing is that you have, when people notice the emotional journey that I have from the beginning to the game, they usually enjoy the game, and they say, oh, that was kind of nice. And if you judge the game by its mechanic itself, because the mechanic has no meaning for the game, it was there to try to support what we try to do with the emotion, more than there to create the gameplay with it, because we didn't spend that much time designing the shooting, for example. It was more like, okay, we need to create the stress and the tension there. Let's add some enemy and it will work.
Yeah, the thing is, we said we wouldn't talk about gameplay too much, and that the shooting bits, and especially I was playing with the controller, so, and even on PC, I know, I'm sorry, and I think that there are moments towards the end, especially where playing with a mouse would have made me maybe feel more like I was quicker, and I don't usually say that because I feel like I can do things pretty quickly with a gamepad, but I was not. The reason I was playing was not because I wanted to see the next, you know, stealth section or action-oriented section if you didn't want to stay silent, or if you couldn't. It was really to see the end of it, and to understand, and to and like I said, you know, yeah, the feelings were different in basically every level. There was also at some point, you know, pain or sadness in a way, just reading something, or you know, listening to some or seeing memories of the past, and in the end there was also sort of scary moments sometimes, maybe because it was late, maybe because I was tired, and yeah, it's like, it's just like Fight Club. If you stop watching Fight Club before the end, you're going to say that movie sucks. If you reach the end, exactly, you're going to say, wow, what did I just saw? What did you just see? It's excellent. And there are a few movies like that, and I think there are very few games like that. Now it's
the game is difficult.
Okay, Olivier, I'm not. I can't hear what you're saying. Like
same here. I'm sorry.
Okay.
It's like you're a robot.
Always the sound guy. Always the sound guy.
You have a sound problem, Houston?
It's okay.
It's like that robot from Buck Rogers. So before I hope that we can find Olivier back in a few moments. But something very simple thing. But that's because maybe I'm oversensitive. Like you kill that guy, that corner gun mechanic, which is actually pretty cool. And you can control the zoom also, of course. So you shoot him down. And something is that made me feel uncomfortable in the beginning is like you can actually hear his wife talking about his kid that is supposed to, that probably they split up and they're supposed to on the next weekend to be with his kid, and she's asking him not to take him to the burger joint or anything. That didn't make me feel very good when I had to kill him, and that's a little thing, but that oppression that you feel with that sound again. Olivier is a crazy guy. I mean, that sound thing, that it's not music, it's really oppressive, and it's like you're like, what's going on? I've never heard that before.
Well, it is music.
Right, yeah. It's like music in Silent Hill. It's like music, but it's not nice to the ears.
Well, if you can hear, is now the piano goes along with the drone, and you know that this drone, when you finish the game, you know where it comes from, in a way.
Yeah.
It's this, you'll know later.
There are many things.
So that's Grace.
That's Grace. Yeah, that's the girl that Cole Black's supposed to save. And that's also a very disturbing introduction because she's going to. She needs help. She has a bomb attached to her, and she's giving you the code. But sadly, it's not the right one.
Yeah, you can say it. Go ahead. It's the first stage.
So Blim, can you switch back to Gamersyde, the logo, because then we're back to that like a menu, mission selection menu, and I don't want people to see it.
Have it on the game.
Good timing. So any idea, guys, what I should be showing now? Because I remember most things, of course, but the asylum maybe. I'm not sure that's no, that's not the one. Yeah, you were saying, Lionel, before I had to interrupt you.
Olivier was talking.
Oh, so Olivier was talking, sorry.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that it's easier for people to look at a movie for 2 hours and get the ending.
Yeah.
When in a game such as Get Even, you have to make an effort to get there to the, let's say, about 8 to 10 hours long story. What I believe is that the pacing of Get Even is so weird, but still very well crafted that you're never bored, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, and we all know that the game has its flaws on many aspects, mostly the gameplay. But I think that this is not what matters most. I mean, it's like having the perfect dish in your life, and maybe the silverware are not as beautiful as they could, but it's not what matters most. What matters most.
Some people will tell you that in a game, gameplay matters most than anything else.
The game?
Yeah, you can now. Yes.
Well, it's not about. I'm not talking like it's the story that matters. I'm not saying this. I'm not saying the story is what matters. It's the fact that you're, as a gamer, as decisions you make, you will have an experience that, to me, is very singular here. It's very unique, and it's not like it's not a working simulator. It's not a horror game. It's not a shooter. It's not like that. It's much more a full, let's say, narrative that you are going through as a gamer, not just a passive ghost such as those games, working simulators, in my opinion. Here you're active, and you're as much, you're active enough to make some decisions that you're not aware of, and then the game will show you that they were consequences to these decisions.
Yeah,
the precision is exactly what you say. In a game, what is the most important is the gameplay. We all agree on that. But the thing is, what is the most important in your game when you design it is to be center of what you try to achieve. Because let's say that you are $1 million production and you can do everything. Okay, you will do everything. But when you are in small studio and you say, okay, we want to design this game and this concept, then that's where you need to choose your battle, and you say, okay, is the combat, for example, is important for my game? No, I don't have the resource to make it perfect. So make it at this level. It's the best we could with the resource we have, and that's fine, because it's not the centerpiece of the game. The centerpiece of the game is, okay, let's try to move people through the game in a way that they didn't expect, and make them like, what the fuck was that at the end?
Yeah.
That was what we tried to achieve with Get Even. And if that's where we say, okay, the sound needs to be perfect, because you cannot drive people with emotion if you don't have like this background that moves people. The voiceover needs to be perfect. The writing needs to be perfect. We need to have the guy at the end say, okay, the story was so much well written. The line was perfect. This is where we need to put the money and the effort for this game, where the rest, because it was not around the concept, need to be as much as we can. If we could make it perfect, we would. You cannot make it everything perfect when you are like 20 people working on the project. So, okay, let's make it as best as we could. It's the same for the graphic. You have like very nice location, you have to say, because it was scanned, because it was natural place, and then we could try to make it as best as possible with the light, because we used the photogrammetry and the light that was there at the time. Then when we need to tweak the light, because we cannot compete with physical renderer, then again, it's sweep the again, it would not be as good as where, like you say, the light would be perfect. Where you have handmade, because it's not like we just have 15 artists, I think, working as master on the project.
Yeah.
But so can we just say that the game is $30?
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. That's another thing.
If you resume it first, it's not even 30. It's 29, I think. And we don't expect to compete with something that costs €70.
Yeah, sure. But like a lot of people complain about the shooting mechanics and everything. I mean, it works. It's functional. It's like I said, it probably would have been more functional if I had played with a mouse, which is something I never do. So I would probably have been terrible anyway. But when things get very hectic, especially towards the end, and I'm not going to say why, the movement can be faster, and well, you get to die pretty quickly if you're shot. But the shooting part is not as much present as the as basically the story part. And I'm not going to call it a walking simulator, but I could understand why people would say that this is a walking simulator, because you're walking and you're finding you find clues and documents and sometimes audio documents too, giving you information. But you're much less passive than in some walking simulators, and it lasts a lot longer than that, and it doesn't get boring, which is also what I felt. It's like I played the beginning twice, so the Steam counter isn't right. It's more than 10 hours. It's like 13, so probably around 10 or something. I think I played also because I replayed some of the levels to find the documents, but I would say it's at least 8 hours, between 8 and 10 hours tops. And if you want to find everything, if you want to also maybe replay the game, seeing things and hearing things, listening to things in a very different way than you're doing the first playthrough, because you have information you didn't have, that makes it even more appealing in terms of longevity, and you don't get bored. I mean, I haven't gotten bored. Maybe some people will, but I found it very intriguing and interesting up until the end. And
to me, it's a interesting take. Can you hear me well?
Depends. I think it's when the game, when your crazy music thing starts.
No.
We don't. I think the music of the game doesn't like you.
Of course. Can you hear me now?
I can stay put
okay.
and we can listen to. And then I have to say something about Silent Hill. So if I forget, just remind me.
Okay, it's just that best we could have as developers to hear that the game is not boring, because you know this is the most concerned things when you know that the core mechanics are not the best in the market, and you want players to still feel engaged, and that was our big battles, and this is why a lot of things happen in the sound and the music and the voiceover, the acting, as I said, Lionel. So I couldn't be happier to hear what you just said, knowing that the flaws are there. But I feel that as a gamer, I'm not talking, you know, as a developer, composer or anything, but as a gamer, it feels fresh, in my opinion. It feels like, oh, I haven't felt something like this in a while. This is, you know, my take on it.
Yeah, it's there's a game there, and that's a walking simulator, but with bits of gameplay that are always refreshing. And I'm not comparing them both because that game is like 2 hour long. But What Remains of Edith Finch, if you haven't played that, that's also a game that basically there's something different all the time. Except it's not in level, it's like more bits of stories that are told in a different way, and that makes it very refreshing, although you're not doing much in the end. And I would say that's a bit like that with a story that
let's just say our game is more interesting.
I'm not going to say that. I mean, I enjoyed What Remains of Edith Finch, but I don't know if What Remains of Edith Finch I could have played for 8 to 10 hours. I don't know that. I mean, maybe, or maybe not, because you know it depends on what the developers would have done with the game for 7 or 8 hours. I mean, I just know that for Get Even, I was interested up until the end. And what I wanted to say about Silent Hill before is that Silent Hill was a game that put a lot of emphasis on sound design and atmosphere, and technically the first one especially, it was way behind everything that was done at the time, because it was going for a 3D world. And it was the scariest experience I've had. I think even up until today, I don't think I've had something more frightening than the first Silent Hill, because of that sound thing. And the gameplay in the Silent Hill series, it's always been also rough around the edges. You know, combat, everything, even just you know, walking, running, and everything, and it worked very well. So there were other games before where gameplay was not the best maybe in its category even at the time, and that actually had a strong impact on those who played them. And
That's
just
really
only
what I
hope
told you.
that
It's where you want to design a game, you have a concept, and then you choose your priority, and this needs to be the best, and this should be okay. It's basically, Silent Hill is the best example for that.
So I'm following footsteps sort of back to gameplay now. You can see you can use the light. There are a few things that your camera can do, well, your phone actually, and it's you know, like there's infrared we're going to use very soon, but there's also the scanner and the sound again, that, you know, like deafening thing going on, and sound. I mean, yeah, if you have to play it for one reason, play it for the sound. Because and the story, of course, like I said, voice acting is top notch. It's I mean, the guy doing Black Hole, I told you last year at Gamescom, but I first thought it was and then now, yeah, I thought you guys had Sean Bean. I said, wow, it's very cool, and I don't know, he sounds a bit like him, I guess, but he's really good. But the others are good too, and the most dramatic moments of the game, it never sound off at all. It's just it's right where it should be, and
It's great to hear. Thank you.
and you should tell the and also what I liked as an old gamer is that the characters are modeled based on the actors, and so there's a little like Half-Life 2 vibe to the character models and the faces. It's very well done. There's no animation or anything, because you know the characters you see are basically in memories, so they're like static. But it reminded me a lot of how I felt first time I met Alex Vance in Half-Life 2, And yeah, and I felt like even like years later in video games, character models and faces didn't look very lively. And here, I mean, the faces do not even move, but they feel very much alive, and the emotions the characters feel in that frozen moment in time, that like fractured time thing going on. It's very well done. So yeah, you can complain about a few things gameplay wise, I guess. Although I have to say the exploration mechanics and everything is maybe nothing incredibly new, but it works. There are a few puzzles. You know, you're not going to go crazy finding the solution. It's always pretty easy. Like this one, for example, where I have to follow the wire and find a way to turn the lights back on. And so obviously here, you can actually do this too. I'm not doing it, but make it more convenient maybe to find what you're supposed to do here. So spoiler alert, I'm showing one of the puzzles.
Yeah, and also it's time for the English stream.
For the French stream, you mean?
Yeah, well, it's time. We are done.
Okay, wait, we're done. Okay, so basically, what I can say is, I really enjoyed my time on Get Even. It's true that it's not something you've seen before in many ways. Although yeah, some gameplay mechanics. Okay, yeah, that's not something particularly new, but. Story is very solid, voice acting is great, sound design is incredibly good, and I'm not saying that because Olivier's here, because I could tell him that he's done a very bad job if I wanted to, but I don't want to. And maybe one day you'll work on a game and I can say, well, you know, you blew the sound design, man. But,
no, I wish one day you will say, wow, the music is very good, sound design is, you know, good, whatever, but the game's so good.
Yeah, maybe that's yeah, something that I couldn't say when you did Alone in the Dark a few years ago.
Yeah, whatever.
But actually, I complained about some of the music in that game from Spider, not the last one, the one
Bound by Flame.
Yeah, Bound by Flame. Like some of the tracks, I told you, well, not face to face because I'm a coward, but you know, like mic to mic or.
Well, it's great. It's great to finish the stream with this.
Yeah, I know. That's why I wanted people to know that I'm objective. That I'm not just being nice with you. I really think you did an amazing job here, and
thank you.
And I think I think they were right to focus on those elements like story and sound and voices and in a way world design too, because you know they're pretty crazy things going on. So well, thank you guys. We probably would need like a 2-hour stream to really talk about everything, but we would probably review too much.
Knowing you, that's going to happen with the French stream.
Oh yeah, probably no,
yeah.
Because I know you too, and I know that you're you know already pissed off because of me. So I probably don't.
Currently,
want to
yeah.
Make it worse. So so well, we'll switch to French, and if you guys speak French, you can join us. If you don't, well, just.
Thank you for listening.
Yeah, and thanks to you both for being here.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys.
A small and silky site like ours.
What's going on?
Thank you.
Hello?
Right.
Anyone there?